save me. Okay, so you guys have my slides up there. People in the internet have my slides on their screen. But okay, I have been super excited for this topic because there's just so much change here in the Phoenix metro area, and it's happened really, really quick. I think so. I hopefully people come online and talk to me. But either way, I've got Dawn and Tammy here, so we're good. But this was, when I picked this class, it was before I even knew all of the stats that we were going to have coming out of August, right? So how I want to run this class is a little bit of guidance and a little bit of mastermind, right? Because oftentimes we find that we probably do know what to do, we just doubt ourselves. Have you ever felt that way? Yeah, a little bit. It's like, we're smart people. So that's kind of how we're going to run this class, is a little bit about that. So I don't have a ton of resources, but whatever I do put up, they'll be at bighelpertraining.com. One of the reasons I teach this class is because I'm always looking for agents to join my team. So that's joinbighelper.com to learn more about that. And now let's jump in. So things are not what they were. And this is, I'm finding, because I coach agents all across North America, and Amy's on here and she's in DFW, and it's hitting DFW a little bit at a different rate than it hit us here in the Phoenix metro area. It was like Easter was that. I mean, I've told many of you guys, we launched several listings. I want to say 4 or 5 listings. I'd have to go back to get the exact numbers in, that last week of March. All of them got more 2-digit multiple offers. All of them waived the appraisal. All of them went under contract significantly over list with no appraisal, shortened inspection. And then we listed like 4 homes the next week, and only one of them got 1 offer and went under contract. And it was like, one of them took over 60 days to sell, which felt crippling, right? And that was in April when we first started to see some things. So I do want to talk about the numbers, because in my opinion, what do you do when the home doesn't sell in the first weekend? The first thing, it comes down to communication. And as my husband says, I don't write the mail, I just deliver it, right? I just deliver the mail. So we're going to talk about delivering the mail. So this is a screenshot from the Cromford report for yesterday, and it's overwhelming, but let's just pull out a couple things. So for those of you guys online, this is one of our local stats, and obviously these numbers won't pertain to you, but the categories where the numbers are coming from do. Okay, they do. So again, a couple of things that I'm looking at are days on market, right? So that's kind of like mid slide right here. You can see our days are on market are up from last month. So the second one is, the last month, and then even from last quarter and from last year, right? So that doesn't seem significant, but that's a lagging indicator, right? Days on market is a lagging indicator, and 27 days to 33. But let's also remember how days on market are calculated. That could have been, on the market for the weekend under contract. If they went UCB, that still counts days on market. If they went pending, it doesn't. So depending on how your MLS calculates days on market, that's something to keep in mind. So this is one of the first stats that I'm looking at, because what I'm gearing you guys up for is communicating with our sellers. Because again, that's where we're going to start this class before we go into marketing strategies, because it's one of the most important things. So I'm looking at days on market for sure. It is worth noting our average sales price is down, right? It's interesting. I don't have the median one on here. We do look at the median and the average, but we can see that the average sales price is down. I'm going to show you guys some other slides of things that I'm looking at. But again, I don't write the mail, I just deliver it to my clients. So I am tracking median sales price. I'm tracking average sales price. I'm tracking days on market. Whether it's good, bad, or ugly, it's my responsibility to educate and inform my client, right? So I do love this snapshot from the Cromford report, but let's just talk about the listing success rate. On the bottom, you can see in the last 30 days, that number is going down. So that means homes that are not canceling, homes that are not expiring. So the listing success rate is actually, this month we're up, but I mean, again, how this data is calculated, but I'm looking at the trend line on the bottom. So that tells me a couple things, right? Like, why are people pulling their houses from the market? Are they getting nervous that, are they not getting offers? We're going to look at some other things, but that listing success rate becomes a really important factor when I go into my listing presentation, because I want them to know that they have to have realistic expectations. That's probably the biggest change that the Phoenix metro area has seen since mid-April is you now have to compete against other homes. Right. I joke about this all the time. I was joking with Nancy. Nancy's online with us. I was joking with her, the past 2 years, it was like, oh, you live next to a toxic waste dump? Yeah, let's go ahead and and you want to add an extra $100,000? Let's do it, because there's nothing else for sale, right? Like, it was dump your junk, power lines, it'll sell, right? Next to a school, it'll sell. It did not matter because inventory was so low and money was so cheap that buyers were willing to just throw money at the problem, right? Well, now all of a sudden we have almost 5 times our inventory since April here. And so buyers are more picky. They really are. They have more options. So the listing success rate has actually gone down. And that's one of the things that I am looking at because it's critical. Another one I already showed you guys, days on market. That's something that we're looking at continuously. It's a lagging indicator, but it is something that's important. Now, for historical context, Don, how long have you been selling real estate?
7 years.
7 years. So when you came into real estate, what was the average days on market?
60.
Yeah, it was in the 60s. 7 years ago, it was about in the 60s. What about you, Tammy?
I've been about 5 years.
5 years.
It's still
50, 60? Yeah, right? So, I mean, this is not the end of the world by any means. And I definitely don't want it to sound like that. We are going into a normalized market and a normalized days on market, right? So, but things to consider. This graph right here, though, this is mind-blowing. What are we looking at, guys? We are looking at the number of price changes, specifically price reductions. Okay, I've been tracking this with my team, and for the past 3 weeks, 25% of all the homes on the market are reducing the prices, right? And that's kind of what spurred this topic of this class. What do I do what do I do when the home doesn't sell in the first week, right? Because for the past 2 years, we were in an environment where we were getting multiple offers. People were writing offers without even seeing the home, right? Because and I know this is the same for Amy in Texas, so many people were coming from out of state, California specifically, right? Throwing money at it because there was no inventory, that our homes were, had multiple offers on the first day. Many of us held the listing through, right, until Monday, got all the offers, made that, and, then it went off the market. We never had to do price reductions. In fact, I don't remember the exact number, but I think that the list to sales price ratio was 103% for many, many months, right? We've actually now dipped under 100%. And that doesn't actually calculate the starting price to the listing price that it went under contract. So those are one of the numbers that I check. So everything that I'm showing you guys, this is stuff that I'm looking at, whether I'm going into a listing appointment or I already have the listing, right? We just got a big price reduction on one of our listings in Levine. And here's the sad thing. We were actually under contract on that home for $455. I think we just reduced to like $499. It was with an iBuyer. They pulled out a week before closing. And that was, they went under contract in March. A week before closing, they pulled out. They gave us the earnest money because they had no cause. but now my poor clients are still on the market. It's a beautiful home. We got to entice these buyers. So using this data, we were able to get a price reduction and a couple other data points that we need. But this does bring up the point to reduce the price or not, right? Because that is, in the past, a lot of us have known, why doesn't a listing sell? Well, it's overpriced. Maybe not in this market, right? And in many cases, the homes are actually supported by the comps. I know in particular, I had a listing, the one that I mentioned that went on the market a week after all my other listings sold, right? Like in that second batch of listings, we didn't get any offers. In the end, we did get multiple offers, but we had to do multiple price reductions and we had comps to support our price. So we actually sold under the comps because that's what buyers were willing to pay when interest rates spiked well into the 5s, right? Because that's really what it came down to. All of a sudden you were at a 3 and now you're, mid 5. And they got the buyer got 2% in seller concessions, is about $15,000. So they got us $20,000 off the list and they got $15,000. Now here's what you need to know about that. As a listing agent, I was like, this is a horrible offer. I would never accept this. And my clients were in their 80s. They had already, they were moving to be with their kids. They didn't need all the money out of their home and they just wanted to be done. We'd been on the market for 60 days. We had done open houses. We had done caravan. We'd done all of these things. And at that point, they were just ready to move on, right? So for them, it made sense. And woohoo for that buyer, right? Because that's amazing. It just wasn't available 2 weeks prior. I'm scorned woman, right? So this one right here is really, really important. I'm tracking that. It tells me many things. As listing agents, the comps don't matter. I hate to say that, right? Like it was so hard to price a home the past 2 years because the homes were accelerating at such an amazing pace that it's like, well, this is what I know it'll appraise for, but it's going to sell for this, right? So it was hard to comp those homes. Now I know the home is worth this, yet 4, 5, 6 homes are still on the market 30, 45, 50 days, right? And they are not under contract. So do we just wait it out? Do we lower the price? We're going to talk a little bit more about that. This I already mentioned. We're tracking the average, sales price here has gone down. The median price has gone down. Just looking at the price per square foot. Again, I'm watching these trends. Like these are things that I need to be aware of and how I price the home, because you and we all know that there are agents out there that will buy a listing, right? They'll come in, they'll tell you whatever you want to hear. And then they get you in the listing agreement and then they boom, 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 price reduction, price reduction, price reduction. And I believe and have always run my business this way that, again, I'm just going to give you the information. I'm not going to lie to you. If I think your home is worth that, I'll tell you. If I don't think it is, then I'll tell you. And I have lost listings. I've walked away from listings that they wanted a price that I didn't feel was attainable. But I'm never going to trap someone into that only to be able to come back and try to hammer them on price, right? So knowing that, how do we respond to this change? We have to respond quickly. We have to stay on top of this. I've been preaching to all of my coaching clients, to all of my friends, if you do not study the market every single day for 5 to 10 minutes, then you need to do that because it is changing so fast. Told you it was going to get really cold in here. If we have to increase the temperature, you guys are in charge. So let's start with communication, because in terms of marketing, you need to be able to defend your marketing, but there's no top secret thing out there that is going to pull a buyer from the middle of nowhere. I hate to disappoint you. Please don't walk out of the class if that's why you came here, but it does, keeping your client happy and understanding that you didn't just sign the listing and disappear. That's really the moral of the story. So in my opinion, when the home doesn't sell that first weekend, let's even just back up. I'm telling my clients right now, days on market are increasing. We have to compete against other homes. I would love for us to get an offer this weekend. the fact of the matter is, and I thought I put showing time data in there, but maybe I put it in later. Fact is that showings are down. Showings are down significantly in our area. So we're probably not going to get an offer. It's going to take a little bit while. It's going to take a little while. So the first thing that I have to do is to be able to defend my marketing, right? Like and we're going to go deeper into that. But I need to be able to show them, what have I been doing all week, right? How have I been trying to get their home sold? Because I was joking with my mastermind this morning. I feel like a lot of us got fat and lazy, right? Like, and I include myself in that because, for instance, open houses were less about getting clients and more about managing traffic. Like I told my sellers, listen, I don't think we're going to sell the home from the open house. What it is that if we don't do an open house, you will not be able to come back to your house because showings will start at 8 a.m. and go until, you know what I mean? Like that's just it is, you know what I mean? So the way that we did business for the past 2 years, I heard another coach talk about it as a Pop-Tart. We were all Pop-Tart clients. Like we just popped from one listing to the next because there were so few that when one came on the market, our clients called and we just jumped up and went because we had no choice. Like if we didn't get them into the home, we already knew they had 5 offers on the table. So it starts with defending your marketing and having a marketing plan. We need to be able to present the facts, right? And then we need to decide, do we need to reduce the price? Did we aim too high, right? Or not to reduce the price? Do we wait it out? I'm going to give you guys some scripts around that. And then in my opinion, we need to give them options. Ultimately, it is not our choice. It is not your house. It is not your house. It is their house. I'm not going to share it, but I got a text message. I shared it with my mastermind this morning. I got a text message that was so disturbing from an elderly woman who is being bullied by her agent. And the whole thing is horrible, but the agent is telling her she has to reduce the price. She tells me she didn't sign anything. I'm like, you got to call the Department of Real Estate. But she's like, I didn't sign anything. I just went out. My friend told me they saw it on Zillow and now I'm listed at 410. I can't sell at 410. And I was like, whoa, right? It's not our house. It is not our house. You can't force someone to do a price reduction, right? That's their money. So we need to be really good at giving them options. And we need to be able to support the options by data, right? Not just like, well, here's what I feel, right? But what is the data points that's going to help us guide them, not bully them, but guide them. Here's the Showingtime data. So I pulled this from Showingtime. So again, this is for the Phoenix area. If you guys have Showingtime in your market, you can actually pull this up for a lot of states and even parts of Canada, depending on how you guys use Showingtime. But this is one of the things that I'm sharing with them, right? Like showings are down. How do you get multiple offers? We got to have multiple showings, right? Without multiple showings, it's really hard to get multiple offers. So just knowing that showings are down, I'm already setting my client up because here's the hard part. Dawn says, well, Tammy's house sold in February. She got 7 offers and my house is way nicer, right? Our house is always nicer than our neighbor's home. And now she's like, so I want to sell for 60,000 over list with 10 offers. And now I've got to tell Dawn, okay, well, let's look at January to where we're at right now. The likelihood of a multiple offer situation is significantly lower. And let's talk about the reasons why that is, right? Well, I mean, here in the Phoenix metro area, why has our market cooled down so significantly?
So it skyrocketed so quickly.
Well, it skyrocketed so quickly, right? It was not sustainable, right? Interest rates. It is all about those interest rates. Now, I'm super hopeful. I am super, super hopeful because we're now below 5, right? We're now below 5. That first time that the Fed raised the rates, I know I told you guys, I warned you, our room here is freezing cold. And so I told the girls that it was going to get really, really cold. So that first time they raised the rates, we saw a dip. We didn't see the significance in change until that second interest rate hike. Now we're seeing all of those loans come to fruition, right? And what that really looked like. So I'm hopeful that our market is, you can see we've started to stabilize a little bit in the showings. I'm hoping that, that we're moving on. My friend Nancy showed me this tool, and this is one of the reasons we got a major price reduction on one of our listings. So again, if you guys use Showingtime in your market, this tool, the reports section in Showingtime, is such a valuable tool. So I just pulled up a make-believe scenario. I said, show me homes between 750 and 850. I want to see the amount of showings between 729 and 85. So that'd be a week, right? So assuming that I'm getting ready to meet with my sellers or to meet with my listing appointment, and their home is in this range and they live in 85298 and they've got a single family. So if they're listed at 824.9, right? How many showings happened in that, in that price range, right? And then it shows you the average number of showings. So if we had no showings in the past week, and I can see that the average number of showings per home was 2, well, then we've got a weekly, we've got a problem, right? But if we did have 2 showings, and in some 85298 is really big. I should have pulled it down. Actually, what I should have done is I should have pulled it down by the community, or tightened it up a little bit more. But I just wanted to show you how this tool works, because again, I don't write the mail, I just deliver it. And if we didn't get any showings, we have an issue. Why are people not choosing to see our home, right? Now, if maybe there were no showings available. Hey, guess what? That's really good news for me, right? That's really great news for me, because it wasn't my fault. Right? So again, I'm like, I love this Showingtime report. We're using it to prepare for listing appointments and pricing homes. We're using it to get price reductions, and we're using it to defend our marketing, right? Because again, if only 2 showings were available on average and we got 2, I know it's disappointing that we didn't get an offer, but our home is performing averagely, right? And then, as I said, defend your marketing, and then we need to be able to give them options, right? So in communicating, I think that it doesn't, I don't think, I know, it doesn't just start after the listing signed and in the MLS. It starts prior to that. And that's why you have to do your homework. You have to, because you need to be able to, we don't have crystal balls. I wish that we did. I wish I could have told all of my friends that listed that second week in April to list 1 week prior, and they would have made a lot more money. I wish. I don't have that luxury. But what I can do is go into the data and I can educate. So I'm going to set the expectations of, I'm not going to keep anything from you, whether it's good or bad. If someone tells me that your house smells like urine, I'm going to tell you that, because that's going to impact our showings. It's going to impact the offers. So I'm setting that up, that good or bad, I'm going to be communicating with you. Now, the format of communication, I'm going to give you guys an example of our seller report. The format of communication, I always believe you should also have it in writing, right? Like, how many times have you discussed a repair request on the phone, you write it up, you send it over, they sign it, you go through the final walkthrough, and they're like, well, what the heck? We asked them to do this. And you're like, no, remember, we talked about that. We decided we were going to ask that. You signed it. You know what I'm talking about. People twist things later on. So I believe you should have it in writing, but I don't think that you should lean only on an email of this type of information, right? That's just not good communication, right? Unless you have a client that only wants to communicate via email. So the format, in my opinion, you should have something in writing in an email, and be flexible to do a Zoom, right? Like, or a FaceTime, a phone call, and maybe even follow it up with a text message, right? I work with a nurse, and she's got such a crazy schedule that we do a lot of communication through text message, and even voice note, right? I'll drop her a voice note and things like that. So I'm going to show you some different formats, and then how often. One of the most interesting turn of phrase that I heard about communication was from Chris Voss. He wrote a really great book called Never Split the Difference. I'm going to talk about that book later on too. And it's all about negotiation strategies and tactics. And one of the things that he says is when you don't communicate, you're actually holding the other party hostage. And I never thought about that in selling a home. When I don't tell my seller what's going on, I'm actually holding them hostage. They're just out there worrying and wondering and just waiting, right? And so they really are in a victim situation. And we have that power. The text message that I got from this woman that I mentioned earlier, she specifically said, he's not responding to my emails. He's not responding to my text messages. He's holding her hostage. He's literally holding her hostage. And we have to think about that because we're busy, like legitimately. We're busy people. They don't fully understand everything that we do, right? They all think we make too much money and that we don't do very much to sell their home. Little do they know how much it is that we do. So no matter how busy we are, in my opinion, you should have standardized communication expectations. My clients know that every single Monday they're going to get a report. So in the listing presentation, in writing, every single Monday, we do our seller report. Now, if they want something in between that, they can reach out to me and I'll get back to them the same day. But one thing that they will absolutely know is that on Monday, they're going to get a report. And so if Dawn called me and say, hey, how'd the open house go? I would tell her how the open house go. And then I would just say, and just a reminder, I'm getting all of the data points. Monday, I'll be sending that over. We can talk about it in more detail, right? So I'm setting up the standard. In my opinion, it's how often. I mean, what do you guys think? How often should you be updating your sellers?
I think if there's something urgent, like right away, like bad feedback.
Yeah,
or something
urgent,
like that,
right away.
But I do weekly.
Yep. So Dawn says weekly. Tammy says weekly as well. Yeah, I mean, so Gary Gold, who sells those really, really expensive homes in like Beverly Hills, he does it monthly. But those homes could take years to sell, right? So it's a very different scenario. So in my opinion, as long as it is set in advance, when are they going to hear from you? And they know that you're going to hear from you. That's good. Don't hold them hostage.
I'll even sometimes ask them, how often do they want to hear from me?
That's a great advice.
Some people, especially at the beginning, they feel like they need a little bit more, like, to know what's going on, and then I feel like they just get comfortable a little bit, and then they're like, I'm like, is it okay to, once a week? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah. So Tammy says, ask them, ask them what they think, how often they want, and how they want that, right? Mm-hmm. I love that. We do that when we're under contract. We ask them, like, what's your preferred communication, right? Like, do you like text? Do you like email? Do you only want to do phone, right? So I'm going to share with you guys an example of our weekly seller report. This is probably the 20th iteration of this. To be perfectly transparent, I did not have to do a seller report for over 2 years. So in April, after I had a home on the market for more than a weekend, all of a sudden we were scrambling because it had been 2 years. We were scrambling to come together with some stuff. I'm wondering if I can make this bigger. I just
make that in.
So the latest version, this is Canva. So we are doing it in Canva for a lot of reasons. We used to do it in Adobe, Photoshop or something, whatever that fancy, stuff is, but not everybody on my team knew how to use it. So it wasn't very friendly because not all of us had it on our computers. I had it in a Word document for a while. So like I said, I've had it in Word. I've also created this in BombBomb. If you utilize BombBomb, you can create beautiful email templates. Right now I've landed in Canva, and we are loving the flexibility with Canva because we can easily change things. And this link is completely interactive, as I'll show you guys. But on top of that, it's text friendly as well, right? So it's text friendly, it's email friendly. I can download it as an attachment as well. So I can send it as a link, I can send it as an attachment, and it's completely interactive. And that's why I like it. And that's why I liked BombBomb. But BombBomb does have deliverability issues, right? Not everybody, I'd have to text and be like, I just sent you an email. Can you please check your spam? And I'd have to train their email account to accept my BombBombs. So ultimately we landed with this. So at the top, we have a picture of their home, the address, and then we're pulling all of this data from online, right? Again, I have to defend my marketing. It's been a week and your home didn't sell. You hired me to sell your home. Here's what I've been doing, right? Here's what I've been up to. So I'm pulling the data from Realtor, Zillow. We use Tour Factory, so we're able to pull it from there. And then, of course, the total number of showings that we had. Then on this first page, I'm also pulling all of the comps because, again, I want to be able to help them see what's going on. So first one is, were there any similar listings that closed, right? That's relevant data. If there's anything that's pending currently in their neighborhood, any other active homes, because that's direct competition, and then anything that did a price reduction, right? So something could have went pending in the last week, something could have came on the market, and our competitors could be lowering their prices, right? So these are all really, really important, key facts. I'm also pointing out to them our price per square foot. So where are we at price per square foot? That's really important because that's pretty much how we price homes here in the Phoenix metro area, is by price per square foot. So a couple things, there's a little script there that I've given you, and I picked this up from Angela Fazio years ago when she was my coach. And back when we had to do price reductions, guys, I used to get trained on this stuff. I didn't have to use it for years. So at this time, we can continue to stay the course, right? So based on this information, this is how I would close up this meeting. Based on this information, Tammy, we can continue to stay the course, which basically means we're not going to reduce the price, or we can reduce the price, right? Stay the course, reduce the price. Either way, I'm going to continue to market the home, right? I'm going to continue to do all these things. So that's really that key factor. At this time, we can continue to stay the course and wait for that buyer to come, or we can reduce the price, attract some additional buyers, maybe a different buyer pool. Based on that showing time data, we saw that most of the showings were happening in that $10,000 bracket below us. If we reduce the price, we can get into that bracket, increase our showings and chance, right? So it's like, again, I'm presenting them with options. Do you want to stay the course, wait it out? And at that point, who's making the decision? They are. So they're saying, no, Dawn, I understand it may take a little bit longer. We're going to stay the course and just see if we can find that buyer that's willing to pay this price. Or they're going to agree, yeah, well, we're not getting any showings. All the showings are happening in a different price range, or there's no showings available. So Dawn, I don't think we should lower the price. And at that point, I'd say, I agree with you. There just weren't enough showings to get the data that we need. Let's go ahead and stay the course for another week. Does that sound like a plan? Okay, perfect, right? Or I agree, it seems like the buyers are actually in this pool, and based on these comps and the closings, let's go ahead and reduce the price and see how we can perform this week. And then I'll adjust my marketing with this new price, right? So the second page of the seller report is going to focus on the feedback. So we go in and we pull all of the feedback from Showingtime, right? So anything that we got feedback, or if an agent texted us, whatever it was, there's always feedback in there, unless there was zero showings, right? Zero showings, zero feedback. Go ahead.
If somebody texts you feedback, how do you keep track of it to easily find it when you're ready to put this together?
So Dawn asked if you get feedback in an email or a text message outside of Showingtime. So I actually have my virtual assistant go in and manually add it to Showingtime. So when someone gives me feedback, I just forward it to my assistant. You can go in and actually log feedback from that agent. Yes. So just put together a system, whether you do it, like email it to yourself, and then before you do your seller report, you go back and manually add it. But yes, you can manually add feedback that you get. I mean, you're going to have to cut and paste, of course, but yes, you can go in and manually add that feedback. So feedback is there. And then we want them to see that we care about how their home looks online. So those little banners are all links to, view your home on Zillow, view your home on Realtor.com, view your home on our website, right? and, view your home on Tour Factory. So whatever tools you are using, right, your CRM, we're going to talk about this in the marketing section, but you should be utilizing your CRM links to share the home, not Zillow, not the MLS. Like, it needs to be your branded site. So that's part of our interactive piece to just make sure that they know, and it keeps us accountable. How many times have you gotten a call that's like, well, this old picture is on Zillow, and you're just like, where did that picture even come from? You know what I mean? So this is part of keeping us accountable to make sure their home looks good online. Then the last part, and this becomes really important, is we start to take screenshots of all of the marketing that we did since our last meeting. So we're taking screenshots from Instagram, screenshots from Facebook, if we've done any type of email campaigns, if we've done any type of print, postcards and things like that. So anything that we've done in the past week, and I will tell you, this is a little bit of a pain because you've got to think about all the places that you're doing, you know what I mean? And you got to get a picture of, that postcard and different things like that. But this part is where I don't want you to do that. This part is where you're defending your marketing, right? So yes, this is a little bit of a pain, and our sellers appreciate it, and they're happy with us, even when it takes 60 days, right? What's the number one complaint from NAR? Communication. It's the number one complaint, right? People list a home and then they don't communicate with the seller. The seller feels like they just put a sign in the yard and dropped off the face of the planet. Sometimes this stuff is hard to communicate, but you have to do it. You have to. You cannot avoid it. Let's put it that way. Okay, let me click back to this, and then let's see. Okay. So if you don't have a seller report, I highly recommend that you create one. Like I said, Canva is a great tool, but even if it was just an email summarizing from that, we deliver that on Mondays, and we follow up with our sellers verbally to be able to, how do they want to move forward, right? Because it's their decision. It's their decision ultimately, and I want them to have buy-in. So let's talk about strategies. I already let the cat out of the bag that I don't have some secret, really cool strategy, because you will find that so much of this is just going back to basics. So we're going to talk about first having a plan. When you take a listing now, you really should consider putting together a 60-day plan. The numbers are pointing towards 60 days, right? I showed you guys the days on market are up. I hope and pray for you that it's not, but I'd rather you be prepared. So a 60-day plan does a couple things. One, you'll start to think about how am I going to sell this home, right? Because we actually have to market homes now. We got to find these buyers because they're not falling out of the woodwork because interest rates were, close to 6. Now they're under 5 again, but they've got some time to react and normalize. We did the math this morning. I don't have my notes in front of me, but a $500,000 home with 10% down. So you finance $450,000. Nancy, what was the payment that went up? I think it was $500. So your monthly payment would be $500 a month more now. So purchasing right now, the same house last year where interest rates were, it's $500 more a month. If you take into account the appreciation, it was over $750, right? Because that $500,000 home is now, so yeah, she said $700. That $500,000 home is now worth $550, right? So you're financing $5 instead of $450. So your payment is up over $700. I don't care who you are. Like, that's a hard pill to swallow. It really, really is. And I do bring that forward to my sellers. Like, Dawn, is your home worth this monthly payment? They don't think about it. They really don't think about it. Like, at a $500,000 home, right? And let's say they're putting 10% down. Is your home worth this monthly payment? On top of that, how many people do you know? So that was one of the other scenarios that we ran this morning in educating ourselves and being able to talk to our sellers about intelligent pricing and what this looks like. So thinking about, is my home worth the monthly payment? just running regular factors. And to buy a $500,000 home here in the Phoenix metro area, which is just a little bit above the median, right? Sales price. So it's like what, 457 or something like that is our median price. You need to be making about $100,000 to $120,000 a year. So now we have an affordability issue, right? we legitimately have an affordability issue. So one person making that much money or a combined family making that much money. So when a seller, it doesn't sell their home in the first weekend, these are just some topics. Like, you got to remember, in order for someone to qualify for your home, they have to be making over $100,000 a year. How many people do you know making over $100,000 a year, right? And then, is your home that needs new carpet, that needs paint, is it worth $3,000 a month after the HOA and right? Okay. You know what I mean? Like, again, I don't write the mail, I just deliver it, right? But people appreciate transparency. I would rather know up front that, your home smells like cat pee, and we're going to have to fix that if we have any chance of helping you. So I'm just going to cover a couple things, and this is kind of where we can go mastermind. So those of you guys who are online, you can chime in. The ladies here in the room can chime in as well. This was just an example of someone that wrote out a 60-day plan, and I thought it was great. It was a series of social media posts, reverse prospecting, which we're going to talk more, some mailers, some online email type strategy. So again, it doesn't have to be fancy. Just pull out something you need. You don't want to have to reinvent the wheel every single week. You just need to lean into the things that you were probably too busy to do in the past 2 years, right? Like, just going back to the things that we know that works. Okay. Open houses. I already kind of, I alluded to this a little bit. Oh, actually, my listing in Surprise, we did sell it at the open house. They were on their way home from church. They had an agent. They were on their way home from church. They saw the open house. They stopped in. They came back the next day with their agent, and they put an offer. And thank you, because that was so far. I didn't want to take that listing, but I wanted to sell a home. So they're, one of those scenarios. So open houses, you need to go back to the strategies that work, right? There's so much data that talks about the conversion rate at open houses. And I'll just put it out there. With sales down over 20% in the Phoenix metro area and inventory increasing, do more open houses. Like, there's so many available. There are so many available. Agents on my team are having incredible, like, over the past 2 years to try to do an open house for someone else. It was like, kick rocks, we're not doing an open house, or we're doing it, right? And now there's a lot more opportunities, but we've got to look at that open house differently. So I've got on there calling, obviously circle prospecting around. Okay, I'll also say, I don't think that circle prospecting is going to sell the house. This is all about my first point. Defend your marketing, right? Dawn, what did you do this week to sell my house? Well, I'm really glad that you asked. I actually called 500 of your neighbors to see if they knew anybody that wanted to move in. I mean, it's two-sided, right? Again, you can sell homes through circle prospecting. I coach a woman that moved into a brand new community. She moved from New York to Kalamazoo, Michigan. Janice Allen. You guys should talk to her because she's incredible. She sold 8 homes her first year circle prospecting in a completely new area. So I know it works. I just want to point out, though, that, like, I'm not naive, okay? I know these things are not going to probably sell the home, but it's all about defending your market. So calling in the neighborhood is one of those things that, again, I can come back and report. You're going to feel like, wow, Dawn is working so hard to sell my home. She called 500 people this past week to just see, right? There's a difference there from the other agent who's not communicating, who's not following up, and then just calls and says, we need to reduce the price. There's a big difference. Social media, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into social media, but social media is not all about houses. I do believe that you need to show your personality in social media. I do need to believe it needs to be way more than just listed, just sold. But think about one person that I feel is doing a really, really good job about this right now is Karen Heat in Kanab, Utah. She just tells really great stories about the houses and about the area, and makes you really emotionally connected. Yes, if they've got that money shot, definitely share the money shot if it's a beautiful home, right? We've all seen I've been guilty of the social media posts of like the outside of the home only. But it needs to be more than just a picture of a house. You want to have some personality in there. We're going to talk more about strategies around that.
What's the last name?
Karen Heat, Heet. It's Love Realty, I think is their social handle. Love Realty, Karen Heat. So signs are, and this is a tricky one because right, Cream Creek, they destroyed 25 of my signs. It's like there's some of the cities have ordinances on how many signs that you can put out. You don't have a lot of signs, then you are going to be in trouble, right? Like you need signs. So just know the ordinances. Sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to risk it. Sometimes I just risk it. You definitely want to study the market. So again, the open house, I would love to sell every house of mine through the open house. It doesn't always happen. It did happen in the past month, and I am so excited about that. But you need to study the market because the people coming in are most likely going to be neighbors, right? And they're going to wonder, right? Well, come on, Dawn, is this home really going to sell for this? Or I'm really worried. You guys have been on the market for a while. What's going on, right? So you need to know whether it's your listing or not, and you're just doing open houses right now because you want to increase your business and stay busy. You need to study the market to be able to talk intelligently about what's going on in that neighborhood. Well, I can understand your concern because homes have been selling pretty fast. Actually, average days on market in this neighborhood right now is about 45. So we're 30 days in. I'm pretty confident that we're going to be getting this home sold fairly quickly. By the way, who do you know? At what price would you be a seller? And and what do you think about what's going on? And I'm curious, what do you know about the market, right? Like you've got to be intelligent. And then most importantly, with your open houses, like you've got to have a CRM. You got to have a system, whether they're signing in on a notepad or you're signing them in electronically. You've got to have a way to capture the people. And one of my favorite teams here in the Valley, the Santizo group, built their business on open houses. And every single person that went through their open houses, and I think they still do it to this day, gets a handwritten note mailed to them. And that's just like excellent. But on the topic of the CRM, yeah, Nancy said Maricopa copied Gilbert and Chandler and Queen Creek. All of the big cities are catching on with their sign ordinances, and it's really annoying. It only hurts our homeowners because our signs are not like these political signs that are out forever. They're out for like 4-5 hours, right? Come on. But so on with the CRM, like you need to follow up with them, right? Legitimate, true follow-up, and not having technology will definitely hinder you, and you'll forget people, you'll lose people. But don't wait a week to follow up with them. Whatever you said you were going to do at the open house, do it that day, right? Unless you set the precedence. Hey, just I've got a birthday party tonight. I will get this to you first thing tomorrow. They'll understand, but do a really good job on the open house. And again, this open house is about defending. Some of your sellers are not going to want open houses. And some of my sellers, I will tell them, listen, we're probably not going to sell this house at the open house, but what does an open house technically do for you in the MLS? It's traffic. It's a syndication point, right? So I tell them, it's about getting eyeballs on the home. I'm just going to play the system. By having an open house, that's another notification that goes out. My CRM, my people are signed up for open houses in their search area, right? All of us have CRMs here. I'm looking in this room. If they're all with EXP, I know they all have a KV core site, right? They've got people in there. Open houses is a tool to push your listing in front of someone again and again and again. And frequency it might be what it takes. So don't underestimate the power of an open house to, one, defend your marketing, and two, increase in exposure. It's all about exposure. So reverse prospecting, I feel like this is more important now than it ever has been. And I don't have all the answers on this, so I would love to mastermind this with anybody that wants to do this. Like we can set up a separate call, not a class, but like a legitimate Zoom call where everybody can come in and we could go deep on this. But here are some of my ideas and some of the things that we're doing around reverse prospecting. So the first part is definitely through networking. And I started with just agents, right? So Dawn and I are both part of the Tom Ferry coaching ecosystem. So we have a lot of Tom Ferry friends, right? Like that's just, it's really cool. Not selling Tom Ferry coaching, but I am obviously a fan. But it is a really amazing advantage of being part of the ecosystem is that we meet really cool people, awesome agents from all over the place, right? We don't know enough California agents or Chicago agents for that matter, because those are two, Peoria, Illinois, right? Like those are feeder markets to the Phoenix metro area. And so when we have a listing, we need to be thinking about agents outside of our market that potentially have buyers that, or sellers that would be buyers in ours, right? So be thinking strategically. I'm not saying spam all of your agent friends. That's lame. Okay. Don't just try to show off. I've got this cool listing. That's lame. Be smart about it, right? Agent to agent networking is like my second largest lead pillar for where I get my business. And I don't spam my friends. I have intelligent conversations. I help them with their business and I want to see if they know anybody, right? So don't just think about agents outside. Also think about agents in the area. I know that Dawn does a lot of business in this Southeast Valley. And so if I have a listing, one, she's just a cool person to talk to, but two, I could call her especially. So this is where I like to use Showingtime because I can see who's showing homes in my price range. You can actually look that up. I don't know if you knew that. So I can look up who's showing homes and then I can reach out to those agents. Hey, Tammy, I'm just reaching out. I'm with EXP. I've got this really cool listing over here in Circle G. I just wanted to see, I know you sell a lot of homes in this area. Do you happen to have any buyers that are looking for X, Y, and Z? By the way, they would totally do a buy down. Right? Like that's like, if you have a buyer that needs concessions right now, I have permission to disclose that, we would be willing to give 2% in seller concessions. Networking, right? Like get permission from your seller. What can I tell another agent? Because that's not necessarily something we can put out there, although you can get creative with your advertising for sure. We've got 2 homes that are USDA financing available. This is one of the strategies this week we're figuring out. Like we had a meeting on Wednesday, and this week we're like, okay, how can we attract USDA buyers specifically, right? Like what could we say? When interest rates were in the 5s, one of the things that we were saying, if you thought a 4% interest rate wasn't available to you, we've got great news, right? Because we could do a buy down. My seller's willing to do a buy down. We can get you into a 4%, right? So that networking piece, calls, emails, broker tours is also, they're back. The van out there, I don't know why they have, well, probably because we're not Revelation Real Estate anymore, but you guys remember when we used to go on broker tours? Well, those are back, right? Why do we do broker tours? Is it because we think we're actually going to sell the home through the broker tour? It's to get feedback from other professionals and potentially someone may have, like, I know that there's been times that I'm like, this home is perfect for my client that, if I found the perfect home, they would buy, right? But most of the time we do broker tours to be able to get specific feedback to our clients to help the home sell, right? So broker tours, that's part of your networking. Your database. So when I say your database, I'm particularly talking about your CRM. And I would segment it into who do you know, right? Like, so my past clients and my sphere, I'm representing this amazing family. They live in Rancho Bella Vista. The mom had to move to Safford and now the dad's just waiting for the home to sell. Who do you know that needs a beautiful home, right? That could benefit from, seller concessions. We could give them, $10,000 closing costs, or we could buy down their rate. So think of your database. Who do you know? Right? Of course, through email and social. And so again, this is part of that reverse prospecting, going to your past clients and your sphere of influence, because they might know somebody. And you're not asking them to buy or sell with you. So it's a really good touch if you play it off right. Also thinking about where they're at. I'm not going to ask my client in surprise, who do you know that needs a home in Florence, right? Like, so segmenting your database based on even maybe the price point, right? Like, because again, if you've got a $1 million listing, how many people do your friends know that make that much money that could afford that house, right? Like segment your database is what I'm saying. Door knocking, definitely, again, defending your marketing, but going back and door knocking. Do I think that door knocking is going to actually sell the listing? No, it's more of a prospecting thing that you can tell your seller. Although Janine Igliani, she's so amazing, and they door knock every single listing, and they just are an incredible team. She's an incredible team leader, and she swears by door knocking. So I won't. And her business proves that it works. So I'm not going to say it doesn't work, but again, that, in my opinion, door knocking might not necessarily sell that listing, because then you've got the likelihood that that's a renter that wants to buy in the area. Very, 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 it could be, it's more about defending your marketing. Here's what I did this week. Now your CRM, this one, if you don't have a CRM, definitely come to a CRM class of mine, but reverse prospecting in your CRM, we got so many buyer leads. I have 20,000 people in my CRM, right? I can reverse prospect it. I can say, show me everybody that is looking at homes in Queen Creek. Show me everybody that's looking at homes in Gilbert. Then I can even segment, show me everybody that's looking at homes over 600,000. So then I can aggregate all of those people and have specialized emails, call campaigns, text message campaigns to those people. So again, when I go back to my seller, well, Christy, what did you do this week? Well, this week I actually reverse engineered a way to find buyers that were specifically looking in Queen Creek under 600 or over 600,000. And I just started calling, right? And maybe I procured 2 showings out of that. You know what I mean? So reverse prospecting your CRM is really good. And then I already talked about Showingtime with agents in your price point and making those calls and just having those great connections with agents. They were like, I thought you said this class wasn't going to go an hour. So sorry. We're almost done. We're very, very close to being done. So here's the thing with social media. I would just say always link back to your agent site, not the MLS. You can use links on both Facebook and Instagram. You need to use them differently. So in your stories, you can add a link button. You will not be penalized for that. On Facebook, if you just post the link, less people are going to see it. So you need to post pictures, and then in the first comment, post the link. Like, you got to be tricky about it, because unless you're going to do paid advertising, any type of posts with a link that draws people away from Facebook will naturally not be shown as much. But honestly, and people don't love to hear it, the most reach is happening through the reels, both on Instagram and Facebook right now. So you do not have to be in the video if you don't want to be in the video. Take the photos of your listing and turn them into a reel. That's going to get way more reach than just listed or just sold. Think about the story, think about the house, bring some personality into it. You don't have to make a Steven Spielberg directed video, but you do need to utilize social. And then it's a great way to bring your client in if they're on social as well. I know I'm speaking to the choir on that, but like, bring your clients in on that. You'll get more reach. That's kind of, don't underestimate the power of social. Of course, you can also do boosted posts and things like that. So lastly, I'm just going to end with, when the home doesn't sell, it ultimately requires us to sharpen our skills. I already talked a lot about studying the market, but in addition to market factors, these are 3 of my favorite. Well, one's not really a book, but so Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. This is a book that you want to listen to on Audible and have a copy in front of you to take notes, because the Audible version is incredible. It is about negotiation strategies and tactics and how to talk to people and have influence with people. This is a book you will immediately be able to use. Mastering Influence by Tony Robbins is one of his courses. So I believe you can actually buy like the course. It's basically a class, but it's called Mastering Influence, and it's timeless. It has incredible strategies on how to influence people in a non-used car salesman way. And then my newest favorite book is called Exactly What to Say by Phil Jones. I just found out that there's a version specifically for real estate. I have not read the real estate version, but my coach says it's amazing. So I just purchased it on Amazon. I'll let you guys know how it goes. But I can tell you that we've started using the magic phrases from Phil Jones' book this past week. Linda on my team, she started sending out we crafted some specific campaigns utilizing his strategies, and she started getting responses right away, like in a positive way, with old leads, cold leads. So those are 3 of my favorite books that really will help you sharpen your skills. So in this market, I'll go back to Jim Rohn's quote: if you really want to do something, you'll find a way, and if you don't, you'll find an excuse. It's my favorite quote because it applies to absolutely everything that you want to do. If you really want to, continue to succeed in this market, you will find a way. And if you want an excuse, there's going to be plenty of reasons. Sales are down 20%. There's a reason right there. Median values are down, right? We're in a recession, blah, 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 blah. I don't know about you. I'm choosing not to participate in all that junk. I'm just going to go out and continue to help people so I don't get text messages like I did this past week with people who are so upset. So thank you guys for joining us on The Resilient Realtor. I'll put together the resources over ChristyJenks.com. We'll have this class posted. As always, I appreciate you guys spending an hour with me on a Friday. Go out and sell some homes. If you've got any ideas that you want to add to this, put it in the comments, because this is a changing market and I'm always open to learning what's next. We're going to end that broadcast.